also, it's okay if you are like, you know what, this is what it is. You have shown me that love does not live here. Like Nina said, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go. It's totally fine to do that, and that you are not a failure for walking away. You have been failed.
So I know y'all have heard of Water Talk, right? I have been doing this since before Water Talk. I put the little flavor packets in my water, and I love the ocean waters from Sonic, but they have a lot of sugar in them. So I've been drinking water and using the little ocean water sugar-free packets from Sonic. So that is why my tongue is blue, but just know that your girl is hydrated. My pronouns are they, them. Beyonce, yes, I said Beyonce. And people do call me that sometimes, and especially my students that I teach. And I study digital misogynoir and misogynoir as a whole. I look at how Black women and non-binary femmes create harm reduction against misogynoir, particularly on websites such as Twitter. I'm also interested in Black popular culture, digital Black girlhood, and also anything dealing with survivor justice and reproductive justice. And welcome to episode 2 of Misogynoir in the World. For those that are new and don't know what misogynoir is a term that was coined by Dr. Moya Bailey in 2008, which talks about the unique discrimination that Black women experience because they are Black and women. So I'm really excited for my guest today. I have Tory Walters. Pronouns are they, she. They are an educator, writer, Southerner, and a former DEI educator with a story to tell, baby. We're here for the tea today. So we're going to be talking about misogynoir in the DEI space, which I'm really excited about because DEI has been a buzzword for the past few years, and everyone has been talking about their experiences in DEI now that 2020 has come and gone, because that's when there was an uptick of the DEI jobs, especially for people that look like Victoria and I. So I'm going to jump in with these questions. Thank you so much for joining me. I love your shirt. Very
Thank
cute.
you so much.
So you're welcome. Okay, so the first question is, how do you believe misogynoir manifests within DEI initiatives, and what are some common blind spots that organizations might overlook when addressing the needs of Black women?
Yeah, so I feel like the first thing is that there are never policies or even like conversations around the specific harm that Black women and femmes experience, particularly in doing DEI work, in doing the work of justice and liberation work. And that is a huge missed opportunity there. I think that there is a lot of isolation that happens when you are maybe the only Black woman in a space, right? So we can acknowledge that when we are surrounded by white people, that is oftentimes going to be an isolating experience, or when we are surrounded by other folks like within the majority, right? But when it's one Black woman or Black femme in a space with other people of color that are non-Black, it's still going to be a space where, unless the anti-Blackness is being checked, unless the misogynoir is being addressed, it's still going to populate, because so much of our society is predicated on like the subjugation of Black women, and sexism, racism are always intertwined in how we speak to people, how we respect folks, who we listen to, and yeah.
Yeah, that is very true. And it's very interesting that you bring up non-Black people of color, because I think a lot of times when we talk about misogynoir, a lot of people lean towards this idea that it is only white people perpetuating misogynoir, especially in these workplaces. But I tell my students all the time that misogynoir can be internalized. So other Black women and femmes can perpetuate misogynoir, Black men, non-Black people of color, like all of these folks can perpetuate misogynoir. It's not just something that white people do. So my next question is, can you share examples where DEI efforts have either successfully addressed or failed to address the unique challenges faced by Black women due to misogynoir? And what lessons can be learned from these instances?
One thing that immediately came to my mind when I saw this question was what protections are in place for the people doing this work, right? Because I think a lot of times, my experience specifically being on college campuses and doing this work is that anytime that I expected pushback, right? I knew that that was going to come at some point, either from the folks that I was speaking to, the powers that be that are like in charge of things, or like a parent, a student group that didn't agree with the things that I was talking about, but knowing that that was going to happen and having to have specific conversations with supervisors and with colleagues to say, hey, so if and when this happens, here's how I'm going to need you to step in, right? Because I know that a care politic needs to be in place. Like we need to have a process for when things go left, how do we shield and protect like the most vulnerable folks in the room? And so that is like an area that I think of a lot. And when we talk about like supervision and when we talk about creating spaces for the people doing the work, that's a spot that I really want to highlight is that lack of protection.
Mm-hmm. And what lessons do you think, this is a part of that question too, but I just want to go back to that because I'm really interested in your perspective. What lessons can be learned from these instances where you talk about this idea of a care politic, right? And this lack of care for the most marginalized groups in these workspaces, which are typically Black women and femmes?
Yeah, so I think one of the main lessons to learn is that one, we have to speak to people, we have to communicate with people. We also have to be open to being wrong and not seeing wrong as a failure on our part, on our like in our character, and saying like, okay, so just because we did something wrong, does that mean that we cannot correct it? We also have to really be really intentional with empathy, right? Because Black women and femmes are never given empathy. And so to call that out and to realize that that is something that takes practice for folks to do. They have to even acknowledge that they're not doing that. I think it also gives the lesson that you have to be prepared, right? There's not just, oh, we're just going to do this on a whim. It's all going to work out fine. We don't have to have backups. We have to have exit strategies. We have to have preparation in mind at all times.
Yeah. And it also makes me think about how like important this is to show up in the DEI space, but also how like that mindset, that lesson, that change also needs to be happening outside of the DEI space in order for it to stick and be real, right? So a lot of people are like, when I go to work, I act one way. When I leave here, I act another way. But when it comes to the treatment of Black women, the way you act in this DEI space, the care politic that you're supposed to be, you know, working within, you need to carry that into your day-to-day life, right? You can't decide to turn your racism and sexism off, right, when you step out that door, because you're still harming Black women, even if you are not in the workspace. So the last question I have is, what strategies do you recommend for organizations to effectively combat misogynoir, ensuring that both gender and racial biases are adequately addressed in the DEI policies and practices?
Well, for one, not separating them, right? Because we can't think of something that's just a gender issue or just a racial issue. In order for like true justice to be reached, we have to acknowledge that all of these systems of oppression are interworking. And so we can't address anything as like a single issue. We have to at all times be thinking about how the hierarchy is impacting people. I think also being able to specifically, you know, call a spade a spade. And if we don't name things for what they are, that does not empower us to be able to have those conversations and say, hey, this is what's going on. But that also further disenfranchises the people who are being impacted by it. Because if I have to not only experience the misogynoir, but then I have to go to a supervisor, go to a colleague, or go to a person that I'm supposed to be teaching, and then teach them, hey, here's how you are oppressing me, that's putting another layer of labor on top of me. And then that could be compromising my safety, my security, my ability to, feed myself and take care of myself, because we are also, juggling egos at the same time. And so if we are already having these conversations, it makes it kind of commonplace to say, hey, this is a thing that happened. I'm going to call out that this is a thing that happened. How do we address that? In that, I think that that requires us to also be working with thoughts towards like transformation in our ongoings with each other. I think that that requires us to have like community standards, if you will, right? So here's how we're going to talk to each other. Here's how we're going to disagree. Because if you plan on how you're going to handle the difficult topics, how you're going to handle the conflict prior to the conflict arising, that gives us something to draw back to, so that we're not in the moment, oh, I can't believe that they said that. We're thinking back to, okay, this is what I know that, this Black woman or femme needs in order to feel safe in this moment. Let me think about, how do I approach this? How do I address this? And then move forward from that point.
And then this is just a question that popped into my mind, and then we're going to close out in lieu of time. But as someone who has worked in these spaces, who has experienced misogynoir in these spaces, is there anything that you would like to share with other Black women and femmes who may be in the DEI space, of how to exist in this space, how to thrive in these spaces, and then maybe even how to identify when they are experiencing misogynoir in these spaces?
The number one thing is, you are not making this up. This is real. No matter what anyone else tells you, you know your experiences. You know what this feels like. You know what it sounds like. You are not making this up. And having other Black women and femmes to turn to, having other people with a understanding and knowledge of what misogynoir is going to not only offer you the opportunity to talk about these things, but also are going to be able to support you throughout either addressing it, if that's something that you want to do. But also, it's okay if you are like, you know what, this is what it is. You have shown me that love does not live here. Like Nina said, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go. It's totally fine to do that, and that you are not a failure for walking away. You have been failed. That is a very, very, very big difference. Also, in your walking away, take away those lessons with you, right? So like, are there, red flags or even yellow flags that have existed that you're just like, okay, let me take that into the next place that I'm going, or in the next thing that I'm doing, because that can save us a lot of heartache and a lot of frustration. But also, like, we are continuing to grow and be wiser with all of the experiences that we have. But those are like my top two things.
Thank you so much. I think that this conversation was really eye-opening, especially because like I exist in higher education. Like, I've worked in the admissions office. I've been a professor for over 8 years now, but I have never worked necessarily in the DEI space. So I have a lot of friends and colleagues who have, and I hear their horror stories. And it's always mind-blowing to me that a space that's supposed to be diversity and inclusion can be a place that makes you feel excluded, right? And that is not actually diverse in the way that people are thinking and being and caring for each other. So I just want to thank you for coming on, and I am really excited for other folks to engage in this conversation. If you have ever experienced any misogynoir in the DEI space, if you are a DEI practitioner, or just happen to be someone who fell into the DEI space for work, and you have any stories, please feel free to comment below and let me know. But other than that, we are going to close out. Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.